Hey everybody, Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch here from Lincoln-Goldfinch Law, back with our weekly Facebook Live videos. I missed you guys last week. I was out on vacation with my family, and so we didn't have a video yesterday. And we're back. I'm back. We'll be back at noon in same topic in Spanish. And today's topic is the election, the upcoming election, and how it will impact immigration cases. We've been talking to, as we always do, we've been talking to a lot of people who are contemplating filing an immigration petition of, green card, VAWA, U visa, T visa, and consistently people are, reporting to us that they have nervousness about what the election results are going to mean on immigration cases, which is certainly understandable. So I thought we would spend today talking about how that's going to impact cases. I'm going to put our phone number up here on the screen. Call us or text us with any private questions or to schedule a consultation. We are not charging for consultations during the pandemic. That is our gift to you guys. We want to be here to answer your questions. So if you have any needs or questions or concerns about your own immigration case, just call us or text us to schedule a consultation. We can get you in. It's all virtual, totally safe. And then, as usual, I love to have your interactions here on the video. So if you have any questions that you'd like for me to answer, go ahead and put them up in the comments, and I will be responding to your questions. So how is the election going to impact immigration cases? Well, obviously, there is not one simple answer to that question. But what we've seen lately is that people who are waiting to take action, in some cases, are having negative consequences. So we've in our team meeting this morning, we were talking about some clients who waited. They were wanting to file for a green card and decided to wait to save up money. And in the meantime, the applicant got arrested, picked up by ICE, and is now in detention and facing deportation proceedings. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about with you today is just that potential consequence. When someone's in the United States and they're undocumented, now more than ever, I know you guys know that, you're vulnerable. You're vulnerable to getting picked up by ICE. Now, typically people get picked up only from interactions with the police. More than 90% of apprehensions by immigration are after a police encounter, but not always. Sometimes ICE will go to someone's house. Usually if they have a criminal history or a deportation order, ICE will come to the house, or maybe being picked up at a checkpoint or something like that, or a raid is possible. But typically a police interaction is the way that people get picked up who are undocumented. But once you file an immigration application, it changes things. So if you are filing an adjustment or you're in process, it allows us to do a better job at getting you out of detention or putting your case on pause as we allow for the application to go through with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service. So the number one rule, know your rights rule when you get picked up, is to not sign anything and to not agree to a deportation if that's not what you want, to talk to an attorney. ICE agents are sort of notorious for threatening people and telling people that they don't qualify for relief or they'll be in detention for a long time if they don't sign a voluntary return. And their job is to trick you into signing these documents. So number one rule, if you get picked up, is to not listen to ICE agents, to reach out to us, and we'll help you guys figure out for yourself or your loved ones whether bond is possible, whether you can get out on bond. But let's just talk about immigration applications. So we have this huge election coming up. Everyone knows, you all know that to vote. I'm sure you've heard it a million different places. If you're eligible, if you're a citizen, you vote. There's going to be one of two outcomes, right? Things are either going to get better for immigrants or they're going to get worse for immigrants. The thing to know about, if things get better and you're in this bucket where you're like, I want to file for a VAWA or I want to file for a green card, should I file now or should I wait until after the election to see what the results are? Obviously, if Trump gets reelected, things are going to get worse. Policies are going to get worse for immigrants. If Biden gets elected, things will get better. Slowly but surely, things will get better. Typically, in an immigration process, when a benefit is passed or things get better or a policy improves, that's going to apply to all the pending cases. If they're going to be more generous with their application of a benefit, that's going to apply to the cases that have already been filed. Whereas if they're doing a negative benefit, like let's say they're revoking, they're doing public charge, they're raising the filing fees, they're revoking eligibility for a certain type of case for a certain group of people, those policies typically are not retroactive, meaning they don't apply to cases already filed. They have to typically give us notice that starting next month, people who entered without inspection are not going to be eligible for waivers. Well, then that means that all the cases already filed are not negatively impacted. So this is sort of a confusing way for me to explain that now is the time to file, because if things get worse, you want your case to already be pending with immigration. If things get better, your case already will be pending with immigration, and it'll apply to pending cases. But negative effects don't apply to pending cases. I hope that makes sense. Let's talk about, I can't tell you guys, if Trump gets reelected, what are all the policies he's going to put in place to negatively impact immigrants? As we've all seen over the last 4 years, Trump and Stephen Miller have been relentless in their attack on immigration policies and benefits. And so we've seen almost weekly a new policy or a new change that's negatively impacting the immigrant community. So I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. I don't know if he were to get reelected, what policies he would put into place first. I can tell you that one of the main areas that I worry about is the provisional waiver. So let's back up a minute and talk about the consular process. So I'm talking about green cards through a family-based case. Like if you're married to a U.S. citizen, a permanent resident, your kid is over 21 and is a U.S. citizen, or your parent is a U.S. citizen. Whenever someone's filing for a green card through family-based petition, they're either doing the adjustment of status or the consular process. Okay, the adjustment is what everybody wants. That's when you stay in the U.S., you file, you go to an interview, you get a work permit, you don't have to leave the country. Typically, you don't need a waiver. And that's generally going to apply to immediate relatives of U.S. citizens who entered with a visa or who qualify for parole or who were petitioned many years ago before 2001. Okay, that's adjustment of status. The consular process is just as common, and that process is going to be for people who entered without a visa or spouses of permanent residents, for example. And that process looks like you file the I-130 petition. Then if you've been in the U.S. without permission, you have to file a waiver of unlawful presence. Then you go to the U.S. consulate for your final interview. And so you're out, you're back in a couple of weeks because you've already done everything before you left. You did the I-130, you did the waiver, you submitted documents to the National Visa Center, and all you do is leave for your consular interview and you come right back. It's like a 2-week process. That provisional waiver, step 2, where you waive the unlawful presence, was an executive program that was passed in 2013 under President Obama. Prior to that, you used to have to get the waiver outside of the country. So before 2013, the process looked like you go to you do the I-130, you do the National Visa Center, you go out of the country, and then you file the waiver, and you have to wait for the waiver approval before you can come back in. It's bad because people who are living in the U.S. with their family, they don't want to leave the country and wait for the waiver to be adjudicated, right? So in 2013, this provisional waiver, the stateside waiver, it's called the I-601A. There's lots of different ways to refer to it, but this waiver of unlawful presence that is part of the consular process has been in place for 7 years. That is a benefit that could be revoked by a president without having to go through Congress. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that went away, if Trump got reelected, if that is one of the policies or the benefits that he revokes. What does that mean for you guys watching this? That means if you're in a process, if you are considering permanent residence through a family member, through the consular process especially, go get started now. Do not wait. Don't wait to see what happens with the election, to see if Trump gets reelected, to see what awful policies he puts into place. Because remember, if there's a negative policy, it doesn't affect the cases already pending. Almost never. It's called retroactivity, and it's very unfair to apply a new law to an old case, right? There's constitutional protections prohibiting that. What that means is we know what we have in place now. If you qualify for a benefit now, file for the benefit. Do not wait to see what happens with the election. Do not wait to see if Trump is going to implement some new awful policy, because if he does, then it'll be too late. And then you won't get to qualify for the benefit that you would have qualified for. And I don't have to remind all the DACA eligible people who were eligible for DACA before Trump canceled the program, and now they can't do it because there's no DACA initials happening yet. So I know it's really hard. I know anxiety is so high for all of us right now. We're stuck in our homes. Most of our kids aren't going to school. We're worried about health. We're not seeing our friends. Mental health is suffering. Anxiety is so high in the world and in our communities, and it's tempting to just like hide, to just put your life on pause and just wait and see what happens. But what I can say to you is, as an immigration lawyer, speaking about immigration cases specifically, it doesn't make sense to wait to see if things are going to get worse. That's not the way to handle it. And please don't put yourself in the position where you have a benefit available to you, but you don't do it, and then you get picked up and we're all of a sudden doing removal defense, which is so much more stressful and expensive than affirmative benefits like filing for a green card. And, you know, call us. I'll say it. I'll say it a million times. Let me put the number up on the screen. Oh, it's been there the whole time. Call us, text us. We don't charge for consultations during the pandemic. Just ask, and we'll be very honest with you guys. That's one thing you can count on from our team. We are not going to just tell you to file for a benefit if it's not in your best interest. Okay, we're not in the business of putting people at risk. We will tell you, no, it's too risky for you to file, you know, a citizenship case or a green card case right now because you've got these vulnerabilities and we don't want you to get registered in the system with these vulnerabilities. If we're recommending that you guys go forward, like if you call us and during the consultation we say, great, you're eligible for VAWA, let's do a one-step, let's get you a work permit, let's head toward your green card. The reason we're saying that to you is because you qualify, because we want to help you and we think we can win your case. And when we get people who don't qualify or we don't think we can win, we say that too. And so there's no reason not to just ask us. Just reach out and ask us. And our ethical duties as attorneys is to have our clients' best interests in our minds. So our job is to take care of you and to give you the best advice based on your situation and what you need to know. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment after the video. And if you need anything, just send us a Facebook message or give us a call or a text at that number. It's good to be back with you guys, and we'll see you next week.